Meeting to order.
Hello, Brock.
Hello.
And Brock's here too. Awesome. All right, where is my agenda? All right, here we go. Okay. Agenda item number 2, public appearances. We have none, so we'll move on to agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes, and we will need a motion to approve the December and the January draft minutes.
Could we do those separately since we have people that weren't at one meeting,
Of
but we're at the
course.
other one?
Could we have a motion to approve the December 2021 minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the December meeting minutes.
I will second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? We'll vote on the motion then. All in favor, aye.
I
Opposed, no. And the motion is passed. We'll move on to item 3B, the approval of the January 2022 draft minutes. We'll need a motion for that.
I will motion to approve the January minutes.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the January 2022 minutes? All right, we can vote on the motion. All in favor, aye.
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 And opposed, no. And the motion is passed. Okay. Moving along to item 4 on the agenda, the treasurer's report. And we've got,
Can I ask a procedural question? Does the motion pass with only 2 people voting affirmative? Or do you need a majority? Because Anne can't vote because she wasn't there.
Right.
Stephen, you don't vote as the president, so it's only Brock and I. Unless Chris is, I didn't hear Chris.
I just had to unmute. Ben Mueller too is on the email saying he's not able to log in.
No.
oh,
I wonder if Ben is using that wrong link that was sent initially.
Wonder. I'm gonna send him my link and see. Even though it specifically says I'm not allowed to.
I can send it.
I've got it right here.
Got it.
Maybe that will work. I think as long as nobody is voting against it, I think it passes. I'd say with a little bit of a question mark at the end.
We could also push it back in the agenda so that when Ben is on,
Ben wasn't there.
oh, he wasn't there. Oh,
No. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to have a majority for that one, Toby.
I don't think we're able to. So I think Stephen can vote. But I think we're never gonna have more than 3 because we only had 3 attend. So we're never gonna be able to get more than 3. Hi, Ben.
Welcome, Ben.
Hi, everyone.
Or as you're showing up, Ben, Wendy Rosson the second. Oh, there it is. Now you show up as Ben. Okay, so given that, how do we proceed? How shall we proceed?
I think we've done as much as we can do.
Okay,
So I
We'll
say
move on then.
move along. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're on to item 4, and we've got 4 financial, or well, 4 items. Looks like
Yes.
2 from October, 2 from November.
So let's go over the October and November registers. The one thing, a few things I wanted to point out. One of them is the Hill Electric LED retrofit. We had 2 bills that are included in the October register. There will be yet one more that shows up in December to finish out the year's worth of, well, there's 3 here. We'll have one more in December. So that'll finish out the year's project. I think that was the only thing in October that jumped out at me. That's not true. Okay, we had Aunt Flo charges in both 350 and 360. So that was adding free period product dispensers in 4 of our restrooms and products that will probably last us for 4 years for both of those. And I think that's all that I saw on October. Did we have any questions about anything in October?
Wendy, I do. You had highlighted the IT allocation bill in October. Was there a reason for that highlighting?
Only because it's over 5,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
I'll
we
move
need
on
a-
to, ooh, sorry, Stephen.
Do we need to approve these?
Yeah, you know what? We might as well do it as we go.
Okay, so
I can motion to approve the October.
and
I will
second.
I will second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. We'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion is passed. Okay,
Okay,
Wendy,
so
you want to move to the November register or?
yes, let's do the
okay.
November register. You'll see under 240, we had a charge for front door repair. So that was the exterior door that was stuck open on the first snow of the year. So they had to come out and fix that. There will be another charge coming. We just actually got it today, so it won't be until next year, the 2022 register. But the interior vestibule doors, I call them. So the second set of double doors you come in, we had a closer completely fail on that one, so it had to be replaced. So there's another one coming. Let's see. I think that's all that I had on this one. Did anybody have questions on this one? All
No
right.
questions?
then
We'll
let's
take a
approve
motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the November register.
I will second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the November register? All right, we can move to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no.
Aye.
Okay. Motion is passed. Yeah, and now we still have the financial overviews, October and then November, Wendy.
And I suggest that we look at these together since it's a cumulative report.
Okay,
So I'm looking at the November version. Again, October was a 3 paycheck month, so that all those staffing numbers are going to be a little bit higher. That's fine. It all works out by the end of the year. You'll see that 240 is pretty high, and that's that LED retrofitting. So that in October was pretty high. I believe we may overspend that account, but we were sort of planning on it in order to get the youth area done by the end of last year. So that's not going to be unexpected. We've got plenty of savings in other places, and it won't be overspent enough to cause a problem with the audit. So we should be fine there. We did have some charges. So there's $660 in 325 travel and training. That was a prepayment for the PLA conference that's happening in Portland in March. That will go down to 330. I decided not to go. It's a long way to travel to Portland. Seems like it's hard to get there. They're trying to smush the whole conference into 3 days. Tegan's really excited to go, so she's gonna make it. That's part of that will be refunded. You'll see collection spending really ramped up here at the end of the year. That's very typical. I'm just trying to get that whole 387 account spent by the end of the year.
Yep.
Let's see. We've talked about this before, but if you look under revenues, under library fines, we've got $77.31. That's because Madison stopped charging fines for the pandemic, and we had already budgeted for it. So that is something that we will account for in future years. That's actually a really good thing for the patron. So it looks terrible here, but we'll have enough savings to cover it. So I'm not worried about it.
does that budgeted amount basically go to zero this year?
I think it will.
Okay,
If it didn't for this year, it definitely will the following year.
okay,
I think that we may still have one library that's charging fines, but I bet that doesn't last much longer. Copy fees is an interesting one as well. So we just installed the print management system. So I think that our income for copies is going to go up. The 6,000 that we budget for was actually based on an actual revenue amount from several years ago. As you know, we have been operating on the honor system, which has not been really working in our, I don't think I can share my screen, Ben. Can I send you a link?
Oh no, I just thought it would help me follow along. I can keep following
Okay.
along from the
Okay.
from
Okay.
the other side. I just
Okay. So I'm looking in the blue section down at the left bottom. So that $6,000 was based on actual income, but that has dropped for a few years, and then obviously with the pandemic, it went way down. I don't really know what's going to happen with that account now that we have print management, because I mean, obviously it makes people pay for copies that they're before they print them. So we should be realizing revenue for more of what's actually been printed, but I think a lot of people are not printing as they were before because they have to pay for it. So we're just probably gonna have to wait. You know, we'll have a good idea for 2022, what it's gonna turn out to be, but still not a full year's data. So I'll definitely bring that down, I think, as an account for 23. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I think we'll still have some interest income come in, and we are still waiting on the P-card dividend that comes more at audit time. So there are some revenues that will still continue to stream in here. Any questions about the October and November registers? I mean, overview, sorry.
What is P-card dividend?
So we do most of our supply purchasing with purchasing cards. So each of the staff that have to buy supplies have a credit card that is billed to the city. And we get a dividend back from that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was $4,000 last year, I think a little bit over that. All depends on how much you spend.
And literally the P stands for purchase card, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions?
Just for like, I guess 22 budget or 2022 budget amounts for like planning and stuff. A lot of these seem to just be, I don't know, all over the place. Like, and obviously COVID is going on, and you know, you can only predict so much, but like,
Right.
Are you going to base 2022 based on this year, or
2022
some
was
type of average?
based on sort of the last couple of years, plus some adjustments for COVID. We were instructed, so the 2022 budget was created in 2020. But we were basically told to budget as if COVID was not a thing. So we didn't want to take things down too much and then not be able to return to normal services. So you're not going to see a huge drop in expected revenues. I mean, except for like fines and that kind of thing. Like, I think that's a permanent change. Yeah. We do the best we can. But I will say we are normally much closer on a lot of these than we have been for the last 2 years.
better to plan for more stuff and have too much money in your account than the other way around, right?
Yes, and remember that this all goes into our fund balance, so it's gonna fund future projects. So it's not terrible for us to not be spending what we expected to be spending, and we will still spend less than we took in. We'll still have an amount of money that will go into fund balance. So yeah. All right, if there's no other questions, I think we can probably approve these together since we discussed them together.
Good. So we'll need a motion to approve the October and November financial overviews.
I can
So motion?
approve.
Oh.
Or
It's all you, Brock. All right, I will second Brock's motion. I believe.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the financial overview? We'll move to the vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion is passed. Okay, moving on to item 5, unfinished business, none there. Item 6, new business. Item 6A, the 2022 ILS purchase order.
All right, so just a quick reminder of what this is for. This is a bill that we pay to our system, South Central Library System. This is for technology and ILS member fees. So this covers LinkCat, which is the ILS we use to track all of our materials, all of our patrons, all of our checkouts. This also covers PC support for all of our staff and patron PCs, all of our network expenses, because all of our machinery, almost all of our machinery is on the South Central network. There are some infrastructure fees, and then Get It, which is the acquisition system we use to track things that we are purchasing, both from when they're ordered to when they're paid for, and when they arrive and then when they're paid for. So that's all that's included in here. We couldn't really survive without any of it. It is by far, I think, the highest bill that we pay in any given year, and it's always generally in January. Does anyone have questions about this?
From year to year, Wendy, has this gone up just a little bit?
Yeah.
It's pretty stable, isn't it?
It is pretty stable. It may go up, maybe $1,000 would be a big jump. If we add, there are some port fees. So if we added a lot of computers, it would definitely go up. We're actually looking at reducing, so it may go down in the next couple of years. But yeah, it's pretty stable. And in South Central, I will say, works very hard to keep it stable. I'm actually just finished up with a work group today that was looking at the technology cost formula, because part of the formula they use for that includes circulation, and circulation has been so volatile over the last 2 years that they wanted to get a work group together to talk about if it was worth, do we just use the 2019 numbers 3 times? Do we actually use actual numbers? Interestingly, it works out better for everyone to use actual numbers, because everybody has gone down and started to recover, but not quite made it. So yeah, they're very careful, I think, with their money.
Great, thank
And-
you.
Yeah, and very transparent about where it's going, which I appreciate.
Okay, we know a motion to approve.
I will motion to approve the purchase order for the South Central Library System.
And I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, vote on the motion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is passed. Moving on to item 6B, the approval of the state DPI annual report.
All right, so you see this every year. Whether you remember it or not, I don't know. I'm going to run through some of the relevant numbers. Keep in mind that these numbers, they slice and dice a little bit differently, because this is going to the state and IMLS. So it's not exactly the way that we track our own numbers. So there are some things that appear differently here. Nothing to be alarmed about. Also, I have to remind myself every single year that these are unaudited finance numbers. They know that. They're okay with that. It bothers me more than it bothers them. So when we do our final audited 2021 finance report, some things will be different, and that's okay. So just kind of moving through, hours of operation is kind of interesting, just because 2020 was such a weird year, as was 2021. A normal year for us would be being open 3,488 hours in a year. And in 2021, we were at 3,396, so not far off. A lot of that was curbside service, so not having the building open, but providing service. So that I was happy to see that is a much closer match to 19 than 2020 was. So we're headed in the right direction. Hopefully next year it'll just be back to normal. A lot of questions about COVID. I think they're doing the best they can to kind of track what different libraries are doing, but every library is doing something different. So there's just a lot of questions here that I think they're trying to parse out. Library collection, if you go to page 5, the total number there is, circulation, sorry, 235,724. Just for reference, where did I put my piece of paper? A normal year for us, 2019 was 388,000. We went down to 160,000 in 2020, and we're back up to this 235. So we're recovering. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. I expect to see things just continue to go up. So not unhappy with that. Not super happy with it. I'd rather it be back to normal, but we're getting there. I actually was able to see circulation numbers for the last 3 years for all of the libraries in the system, and most of us are kind of right on the same trajectory. So have recovered some, but not completely. If you look at the library programs and attendance, so they have cut this into a lot of different sections, I guess. So you look up at the total program and it looks like we only had 49 programs. That is only counting in person. And live views of virtual. So that would be online book clubs. So we had some book clubs that met in person. We had some that were hybrid. That's what this is counting. Everything else we did, we presented as a recorded program on Facebook, which is down further on page 6. So the 11,558 views is sort of what we're landed there. Obviously, this is not going to hold the candle to what normal programming was. I'm a little irritated that they are counting live programs and pre-recorded separately, because I feel like we were all told at the beginning of the pandemic not to do it live because of Zoom bombing and all sorts of other crazy stuff. But I don't know that there's really any consequence for that. So if that's how they want to do it, I guess that's fine. All right. If you'll see on page 8, we do a lot of numbers here for operating revenue. And we come out there down at the bottom, 2,093,868. And then they do always ask what our next year's appropriation is, which I appreciate. It's their way of checking that we haven't had our budget slashed in half. If that number is below a certain threshold, then it triggers a flag with DPI. All right, let's see. Then if you flip over to page 9, we end up with operating expenditures. So 1,880,382. So we've got quite a bit of money that's going to go into fund balance, which then you see at the bottom of page 9, that 862,656. That will change a little bit as we get through the audit, but that is 10 years worth of what we have saved from our operating expenses. So that is earmarked for capital improvement projects that we'll talk about in a little bit here. So we have plans for some of that, not all of that. The city does like us to keep, I think, 15 to 20% sort of set aside as untouchable money in case of emergency. Let's see, then we always have to list all of our staff. They want to know how many MLS staff we have and how many positions, all that. So that hasn't changed for us. We're still at 19.25 FTEs. That hasn't changed in a number of years. Okay. Page 11, we talk about public library loans of material to non-residents. So when we talk about cross-municipal and cross-township lending, this is part of what plays into that. So 71,051, some of that is within Dane County, some of that is around, it can be anywhere. It can be anywhere in state, it can be out of state, but we do calculate all of that. So this is what I find really odd is then at the bottom of page 11, you'll see now we're doing self-directed programming, which I don't understand why it's separated from all the rest of the programming. But this is going to be all of like the take-home press that we did. So you know, we very much got out of the mode of doing programming in the building. We did a lot of craft programming before the pandemic. This was our way of continuing that. So you would pick up a bag with all the things you needed in it for a craft and take it home. So we did that for kids, teens, and adults. All right. Okay, then on page 12, this is the all-important statement that I'm always harping on about, that the library board has to know about all the money that is spent. So when one of the other departments tries to charge us for something and doesn't say so, I'm all over it because of this. You'll see about halfway down in the checkboxes, the library board has exclusive control of the expenditure of all monies collected, donated, or appropriated for the library. And this is to protect us from having the city spend our money without our permission. I have checked all of those. I think all of those we're meeting all of the standards that we need to. So Steve and I will both sign this to certify that. If you flip that over then to page 13, this is the statement saying that we feel like we're getting effective leadership from our system, South Central Library System. And I think we're very fortunate to be in the geographic area we are because I think we have the best system in the state. Are there questions about this? I know this is a real dry report with a lot of numbers in it that are sometimes interesting and sometimes not.
One question, Wendy,
Yeah,
and it's not really about any of the content. I probably ask this every year and then I forget.
yeah,
Back to the very beginning on the top of page 1 of the report, it
Uh-huh.
talks about certification grade and we're grade 1. What is
yes.
that? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Are there different grades or types of libraries
Yes.
around the state?
So depending on the size of your community, your director needs to be certified at a different level. So Fitchburg is a fairly large community, so I have to have an MLS and I have to recertify every 5 years with DPI, which I've done. So you'll see my certification date there. If we were in a smaller community, we might require the director to have a bachelor's degree and 20 hours of library courses at the graduate level.
Yep.
So there are different grades depending on kind of the size of the community and what the expectations are.
Got it.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anything else?
If nothing, then we will need a motion to approve the state DPI annual report.
Motion
I'll
to
move to-
approve the,
Go ahead, Ben.
sorry, Toby. Motion to approve the annual DPI report for 2020. All right, this is the 2021 report, right? I believe that's-
Correct.
And I will second it.
Excellent.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? We'll move to the vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Hi.
And opposed, no? Motion is passed. Okay, last item of new business, number 6C, 2023 Capital Improvement Project CIP discussion.
So there's no documents for you at this time. This is just a good time to start talking about what CIP is going to look like for the next, we predict out for 10 years. We're not adding anything new. So we currently have 4 different CIP projects. We have one for the self-check machines. We have one for the library van. We have one for the sorter. And we have one with Public Works in the city for library building improvements and replacements. We are using some of the money from the Public Works CIP for the chiller replacement project that's going on right now. The update on that is that we have contracted with a engineering design firm to go out for bids to replace the chiller at the library. So that is great news. They've split that into a couple of different contracts, and that's exactly why that money exists. So everybody is on board. Bill Balke from Public Works has been amazing to work with. He's showing everybody sort of the ropes of how this is all working. So that's going well. That CIP is one that we put just under $30,000 in a year, and that comes not from library funds, that comes from city funds. And it rolls over so that there is a growing balance in that every year, which is why we've got money to do that project. So it's about $40,000 by the time that whole project is designed and the bids are going through. I think we're doing that in 2 separate sections. The other CIP project that is coming up in 2023 is replacing the sorter, the materials handling system. So what I'm working on right now is reaching out to vendors to get bids. I believe we might be in a sole source situation. We have to use a vendor that works with our system and our ILS. So South Central has a lot to say about who we can work with. We've been happy with the machine that we have. It's kind of a workhorse, and it's done really well for us for the most part. The company, not so much. And the service is very expensive. So South Central has moved away from that vendor and has brought on another one that I think everybody has been really happy with. We switched our RFID readers over to the new company I think in 2020 maybe, and have been happy with them. So that's who I've been talking with, sending them floor plans and sending them pictures of the room where it goes so they have a sense of size. I think we've got kind of the craziest configuration of, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but our drive-through book drop, it comes in way up high, and we have a big giant conveyor belt that brings stuff down at kind of a crazy angle into the sorter. So it's kind of a tough configuration. So they're going to send somebody out, I think, to take a look and have their engineers kind of give us a quote that, you know, it's a year out. So obviously it's not going to be, there's going to be an increase in cost between our quote now and when we actually make the purchase in 2023, but it puts us in the ballpark. I had to guess 6 years ago how much I thought it was going to cost to replace it. I took the cost of our current sorter, increased it by 3% every year, and came over 12 years and landed at $190,000. I think it'll probably come in less than that. I think this company is more affordable, but I don't know yet. We'll see. I think there's also the possibility we have a 7-bin sorter right now. I think that this new companies are a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. So I have asked them to just see how many bins they could fit in there. If we could do a 9-bin sorter, that'd be amazing. If we have to do 7, that's fine also. But so that is what I'm working on. You won't really see documents for that, I think, until I'll have to work with Misty and finance to see if they need to see the actual quotes, if we need to submit those for the CIP this year. But that is what is on the horizon for CIP. I don't see adding anything else new this year. I think we're pretty well set with what we've got. Library van, I think we've got another 3 or 4 years before we're thinking about replacing it. Self-checks may come up before that. But yeah, that's sort of where we are with the CIP. Does anybody have questions about that?
Big one. What do you think the risk is that it just stops working before you get the new one?
I'll tell you a funny story. Another library that has the same sorter that we have stopped working. This will make you cringe. The PC that this runs off of is running Microsoft XP, which is kind of shocking that it's even functioning. What happened at the other library is that the PC failed, and they had chosen not to renew their service contract because they're very expensive. We paid $20,000 this year for our service contract, and I think 15 or 16 of it was just for the sorter. But they were quoted almost $5,000 to replace the PC. And so they are just getting rid of their sorter. They've never really liked it. They don't feel like they have enough circulation to really justify it. So they're choosing not to replace it. I also think that they didn't change their staffing plan after they installed it, which is a little bit different from us because we opened with a sorter. So we staffed based on that, having that. So I feel like maybe they feel like they don't need it, but yes, it makes me feel better for having paid the service contract, even though it kind of makes me mad every year. So I think we're okay. The upside of the machine that we have is that it was not really built by the company that services it. There was a merger. So we had ordered an ITG sorter, and then they merged with Biblioteca. So most of the libraries in the area that have a sorter have an orange Biblioteca sorter, but we have a blue ITG one and have been told that we're very lucky because they just last forever. So
That's great.
Yeah, I think we're okay. It's doing all right. And we've needed a little bit of service. We've needed a new conveyor belt to be installed, and we had some welds that were failing that we thought was causing things not to come off the end of it, and they sent someone out and fixed it. So I think we're okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, anything else on the CIP? Okay. Wendy, you're good?
Yep.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 7, president report. Really only thing to say is maybe reinforce the note Wendy sent out, just attendance. Thank you all for joining tonight. We've got a couple more meetings until there's kind of switch over in terms of succession to new board members. And I know that I actually will not be able to attend the March meeting. So if there's going to be a potential quorum issue, if you all could make sure we can plan that soon so that we can plan for the March meeting. But then I will be back for the April session. That's all I have for the president report. So we can move on to item number 8, library director report.
All right. So as you, I'm sure have all heard, the Dane County mask mandate will expire at the end of the day on the 28th of February. So we will be, of course, rolling with that. So we'll be taking down our required signs. My message to staff will be they can continue to wear a mask as long as they would like, but they are not required to. And that they need to respect what their coworkers, whatever choices their coworkers make, and that patrons are not required to wear them any longer either. We are also going to move back into meeting room reservations and in-person programming. So youth is gonna start with a handful, I would say, of programs, and we're gonna be doing them. Yes, Toby.
No, I'm sorry. I
Oh.
I don't want to interrupt. I want,
Okay.
when you take a breath.
All right. And they will be doing programming in the meeting room so that we've got more space to spread out. I think adult is also gonna go back to hybrid book clubs so that people can attend either way. Yeah, I think people are a little bit afraid of the in-person program and a little bit looking forward to getting back to normal. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I think it's time. We get back to it. Toby.
So my question is, are we going to have a sign that says mass recommended, or you're just nothing?
I think we're gonna do the mask encouraged sign
Okay.
outside of programs, but I don't know that we're gonna do it on the doors. I don't know. You know, we went from required to recommended back to required. But I think if Dane County is not giving us signs that say recommended, I feel a little bit weird about putting them out. I think encouraged we could maybe do. I don't know. It feels really like to me like we're sort of it's every person's choice at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? Okay. The other thing we talked a little bit about was the chiller replacement project, and that is being included in the mayor's proposed ARPA TID investment plan, I think is what they're calling it. So I think I talked about this last month, but for anybody who wasn't here, the city has money from the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, about $3 million from that. There's also a TID, tax increment district, closing that is going to bring in about $3 million as well. So there's about $6 million that is really earmarked for one-time projects, not ongoing costs. So like you wouldn't add a staff person because that would incur costs forever, but you could replace a chiller because that's a one-time expense. So the mayor put together a whole plan of different things and presented it to the council. There's been a couple of public meetings, I believe, about it. The alders were allowed to do amendments to suggest projects or to change existing projects. One of the projects that the mayor included was improvements to city buildings, and it included the $400,000 for the replacement of the library chiller. So amendments were due. I know that there were no amendments to remove it. So it looks like we probably will be fine for funding for that, but also the process for that is not done yet. So it's not completely secure. If it were to be taken out, it would be up to the city to find the money somewhere else. So I'm guessing that they'll keep it in there, but I will keep you updated. It will be on our March meeting agenda. So they have sent out a referral to every single committee and task force that the city has to just bring it up so that you all are aware that this is going on and that you could tell our representative if there was a project that you wanted to see completed. So since ours is already in there, I don't think we have anything really to say. I would hesitate to put anything in there. We really need the chiller. Real happy if we get it. Don't need to ask for anything else. I think we'd be in good shape if it went through that way. But I just wanted to give you an update so that when it comes as a referral next month, everybody's kind of familiar with what it is. I think that's everything for library director report. I have a couple of things under facilities.
All right. We can move on to then item number 9 on the agenda, committee reports, and we can go wherever you need.
Okay,
Wendy.
strategic planning. I did already mention, but we did install the print management system. It was a good 3 weeks of having to kind of mess around with it. The credit card machine was up and running, but it wasn't charging the 6% convenience fee to the patrons. So we had to kind of finagle with that with a couple of different companies for a while. And then it was doing some weird thing where it would let you go negative instead of charging you. So that's all been fixed and it's working just fine now. Staff seem very happy with it. Patrons are mostly fine with it. I feel like we've had a couple of people say I have to pay for it now and walk out, but not very many. So it's been a pretty smooth transition, except for the few hiccups. We are gonna be, I just asked for a quote today for high capacity coin inserts for both of the towers. So there's one on each floor. Right now, I can sit in my office and feel like I'm in Vegas because somebody will put a $5 bill in and it will just change out quarters. And then when it's out of quarters, it'll give you dimes, which is real unfortunate. So I didn't get the high capacity inserts because I wanted to keep this project under the $10,000 sort of limit. But now I think we'll get those for both. So the high capacity can give you dollar bills and change. So it will, I think, save us from running to the bank for coins, depending on who put what dollar into the machine. And then also casters. So the towers are real heavy because they're full of change and they're made out of steel. And we have a little audit machine that we have to do every once a week to pull money out of it and put it into the cash register for copies. And Lisa is doing it most days. And I think the tower might weigh more than Lisa. And she's like struggling to get it around. So she does a great job. She does fine. But I think putting it on casters is probably the nice thing to do for everybody that has to touch the machine.
Yeah.
So we'll be getting another order from them that will make everybody's life easier. But I want to say we did an audit on the upstairs machine after maybe 4 or 5 days, just to kind of practice with the little machine that you use. And we pulled like $29 out of it. So I think it's going to pay off. I do. We'll see. I don't know if that will continue, but we'll see. So that was a strategic planning project. The other one is happening tomorrow. The display shelving was supposed to be installed earlier this month and the shipping was delayed. But it is here and they are supposed to be here tomorrow to set it up. So we'll get that set up.
Cool.
Then we'll have to bring in the countertop installer to measure and fabricate the top and the sides. But we're getting closer to having that project done as well. I have some sad news that isn't really sad news, but might be about the meeting room tables. So you remember we replaced the meeting room tables. Oh, I've moved into facilities already. I'm sorry. So we bought real nice replacement meeting room tables. They have barely been used because the meeting rooms haven't been open. And even when they were not being heavily used. And I was just pulling them out of the closet to put them back in the right order and noticed that a lot of these screws on the bottom were already loose. So the brackets for the legs were coming loose. So I reached out to the company we bought them from, who reached out to the company who manufactured them, and they sent out a rep from each of those companies to look at them because they said they never had this problem before. And then they sent out a group, a team of installers last Friday to reinstall some of the tabletops. I'm not convinced that's gonna fix it, but I will keep a very close eye on it. We'll see. I think the problem, there's the tabletop, there's the table frame. They want you to kind of hunch over and move the table by the frame. I don't think anybody's ever gonna do that. I was real honest with the manufacturer rep that we have, you know, in a normal year, we have 1,000 meetings in there and I cannot be there to instruct people on how to move the table. So there is a little sticker that shows some like disembodied hands. And I think it's supposed to show that you're using the metal bar and not the tabletop, but it's upside down and it's wrapped around a pole. So you can't read it at all. So I have asked for 30 more stickers and I'm going to put them where you can see them. I still don't think that means people are going to do it that way. So especially as meeting room use kind of ramps up here again, I'll be keeping a close eye on them to see. I think that they'll honor the warranty and I think they'll either continue to fix them or replace them. I'm worried that they couldn't get their normal tabletop material and use something less sturdy because the screws are just literally just pulling right out of the bottom of the tabletop. So we'll see. Kevin was here when they worked on them and said that they put some inserts into a few of them. So he feels hopeful. I don't know. We paid a lot for them, so I'll be watching them like hawk.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That is all for facilities. I'm going to move on to personnel, if that's all right.
Mhm.
We had interviews for the outreach librarian on Zoom last week. And we have asked 4 people to come back for a second interview in person. One of them declined to travel here. So we've got 3 people coming in at the end of next week and the week after. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that we'll find someone from this group, but not 100%. We'll see how it goes.
How many people did you interview to get it down
We
to
interviewed
the 3?
We invited 12,
12.
and 11 attended.
Got it.
Yeah, we had a pool of 35, which is pretty low for us. I think it's an odd time to maybe job hunt, but also for an outreach position. So yeah. We real sad news. We have posted the shelver position and we have 1 applicant. So that's not going well. I think we need to hire 3 or 4 positions. I am talking to everybody at the city that I can talk to about this, but our shelver position is considered an LTE, a limited term employment. So they're on a different pay scale than the rest of the city. They start at $9.25 an hour. You can go almost anywhere right now and get a job for $16 an hour. I'm not at all surprised. We don't give paid time off for that position. And we've fussed about this for years. I think we're finally in a position to do something about it. The city is planning a staffing salary survey for 2022 to implement in 2023. So it should be being done this year. So I have talked to Chad Brecklin, city administrator. I've talked to Sarah Olson, the HR director. Today I talked to Misty Dodge in finance about how I think that really needs to change. And I think I'm not happy that we have 1 applicant for this pool, but I think it's proving our point that we don't pay enough and we don't give enough benefits for that job. And I think to call it LTE is just kind of insulting because we've had people in that job for 5 years. So yeah, Toby.
Wendy, what are we doing for raises for our current staff with inflation at 7%? Even if you got a 4% raise, which was, someone would get a 4% raise, they might be happy. Not anymore. They're actually losing money. So what are we doing in that regard?
So depends on how long you've been here. For the first 4 years, you get a 2.5% increase if you are meeting expectations with your annual review. And then every year, I would say for the past 4, there's been a cost of living increase as well at 2%, 1% or 2%. That's at the discretion of the mayor at the end of the year. And then after the 4 years of steps, then you go into a merit raise system, and that is based on a council approved 1 or 2%, and then a 1 or 1.5% increase depending on where your score is. So I think it's not a bad system until inflation got to where it is. So I don't know. I'm happy that we're doing the salary study this year because I feel like that might allow some changes, some improvements, kind of get people in a better place, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, that's all for me.
All right. Thank you, Wendy. Item 10, announcements. The only announcement here is next board meeting, Wednesday, March 16th. same time.
And we'll be
same
on
place.
Zoom. I don't know, starting in April, I think it's up to the mayor if he's gonna extend the emergency order so that people can, or if they're gonna change the city ordinance so that commissions and boards can meet virtually, but I will keep you posted as soon as I know anything more about that. But for March, we'll definitely be on Zoom.
Got it.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. We do need a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn at this time.
I will second it.
Then moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no? No objections. Okay, thank you all very much. Have a
Excellent.
great evening. Really appreciate everybody's attendance today.
Yes. Stephen, if you could sign.